What's up, Lore Masters? This is a continuation of my Borg Lore series. When I first started putting this together, plotting it out, I intended to do the lore of the collective in sequential order. I'd then come back and discuss the individual situations at another time. However, since a large part of the Voyager episode, The Raven, has to do with events that predate Q Who, I've decided to analyze that episode as well as the Star Trek episode Dark Frontier. Additionally, as stated, I'll be discussing a bit of the events that occur on Voyager at the time, so stay frosty. Let's just get into it. In the episode The Raven, there are a few things that I find interesting that are nitpicks but are still continuity gaffes by the writers. Ultimately, the premise of the episode is that 7 of 9 is attempting to escape Voyager to return to the collective. She is found by a security detail who fire their phasers and get one shot off before their weapons become useless as her Borg shields adapt. Captain Janeway orders that all personnel begin rotating frequencies on their weapons to get more hits off. However, in 2367, all standard Federation phasers would be installed with a phaser adapter. This means that the phasers automatically switch frequencies every shot they do, so you would still have more effective shots. Thus, these changes she ordered would have no real impact as they were already rotating when they first fired. But hey, if Captain Jean-Luc Picard and Worf can't remember this piece of important trivia while fighting the Borg during the battle for the Enterprise E, why should I expect Captain Janeway to be any better? Back to the episode The Raven, we find a half-assimilated ship, which is named, wait for it, The Raven. The ship had been commandeered by the Borg around 2353 and ultimately crash-landed with all 3 occupants assimilated. This creates some continuity issues, however. In the Voyager episode Dark Frontier, the Hansons had been approved by both the Federation Council and Starfleet to investigate the Borg. We also see Annika, a child, playing with a model of a Borg cube. Now, in recent episodes, I specifically stated that it's possible there was a cover-up by the United Federation and Starfleet to hide all of the defensive technologies they had discovered while fighting the Borg originally. However, here's my issue. Let's grant that the Borg were considered some kind of strange event thought not to reoccur. Let's also grant that after so much time has taken place that they were forgotten, a side note of one of the member worlds of the Federation. Let's also give them that it's completely plausible that no crew would know of them, including the captains, due to how long it took. So you're telling me that the Enterprise D computer would not identify a Borg cube when they had a full-scale model of a Borg cube in 2353. I mean, in the series Discovery, you have a fucking 23rd century ship ultimately become a horny version of Siri meets Hal, but 24th century tech can't identify what a fucking cube looks like. So that piece of information making no sense, the USS Raven would be dispatched to study the Borg in 2353. You know, I give them a lot of hell for taking a child on the ship, but honestly, it's just somewhat consistent. We see the USS Enterprise D has families, and other ships would have families as well, so this movement and shift is consistent with that idiotic ideology. And also shows why you should never do that. Back to the discussion of the Borg, though. In 2353, another continuity issue that we find is the USS Raven is able to determine how many Borg drones are on a Borg cube, when the sensors of the most advanced ship in the fleet could not. Now, it's possible that the Hansons would have adjusted the sensors of the Raven based on their fascination with the Borg, but I find that it's probably just sloppy writing. That said, I'm not saying it's unreasonable the Hansons hadn't found a way, so I'm not completely discounting it. And this theory is also additionally reinforced with the technology of the biodampener, which made the Hansons invisible to the Borg, but isn't known to all of Starfleet. Again, I'm assuming they never shared this technology, given that most of the science community thought they were insane and Starfleet considered them criminals. Ultimately, I'm not adding a ton here, but just to note this series and this episode as it does impact the videos I've talked about. From this point on, we'll be assuming this technology is the way it works because that's the only way Voyager makes sense. While this video I'm doing today is a bit backwards and out of order, as stated, I felt it was necessary to discuss these quote-unquote new events that would occur before the Enterprise D interaction with the Borg cube. This episode, to me, highlights one of two things when it comes to the lore. It either just highlights the extreme inconsistencies, continuity gaffes, and how the Voyager writers just didn't care about what happened in previous Trek, or it shows the extreme ego and pompous nature of Starfleet and the Federation. Honestly, you're just going to have to pick which one you think it is. If Starfleet had all of this knowledge and never put it together after the events of Q Who, then it is no wonder the events of Wolf 359 occurred. But that's my opinion. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, guys, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.